Mariana Padilla with Congresswoman Michelle Lujan Grisham's office.
This is Viva DeHaza with NOAA NIDIS Program Office in Boulder, Colorado.
Chuck Jones here at the Albuquerque National Weather Service office. I'm a senior forecaster here with Molly Magnuson from the State Engineer's office, John Fleck from the Albuquerque Journal, and Sean Bennett, our meteorologist in charge.
Mary Ewell, BLM.
Anybody else on the line? Okay. Well, others will may join later on. But okay. So is everybody was everybody able to get the go-to going? And Chuck has the National Weather Service drought status and climate weather outlook on. So if you don't see that, let us know. Okay, so I assume folks have that up. So Chuck, go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Welcome, everybody. Take a look here at what's been happening recent weeks and months and what to expect through the winter season. Get that to, I guess I have to click. The November precipitation average statewide ended up at 0.91 inches, and that's 0.3 of an inch above normal, so it was a pretty good month. And if we needed a place where the most precip was, that's where we got it. Northern mountains, northern part of the state did very well, and we do have decent snowpack out there to start off the winter season. Let's just hope it's not like the last couple of years where all it suddenly vanished after the end of the year, and by spring a lot of it was already melted off or evaporated. Percent of normal, you can see here, again, the northern mountains did pretty well. This is a little misleading. You can see the San Juans and Jemez here and Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It looks like their percent of average, it is lower, but they receive far more precipitation than the lower elevation locations. So when you look at percent of normal, it can be a little deceiving at times. That's why I like to throw in the actual precip amounts now. I'll try to do that at all future meetings. And that ended up being the 22nd wettest on record of the last 119 years. So it was a good November. And as you recall, October was not so good. So far this month's not that great either. But November turned out to be a good month. And for the year, 101% of normal, so right about average for the calendar year average precipitation statewide. Of course, that's a little misleading too. A vast majority of that came in July and September to help bring up that average. Central Valley is here doing the best at 114%, while the Southeast Plains is at 90%. And this year ranks as the 37th wettest, i.e. 82nd driest on record of the last 119 years, and close to an inch above normal. For the water year, it's only 2 months old, so you can't read too much into this yet, but statewide average is 85%, with the southern deserts only at 40%, while the northern mountains, as we mentioned, doing pretty well so far at 124% of normal. So the October to November, just these 2 months, 50th driest, a little bit below normal there, over 1/3 of an inch. We look at the last 12 months, we're the 76th driest, which of course means, 33rd or 43rd wettest on record, and so we're close to an inch above for the last 12 months. I'm going to show these again, as I have for every meeting here for the last year or plus. The 24-month period, we're down to the 27th driest. And then if we go to 3 years, or 36 consecutive months, we're the 9th driest. So again, we've made a great dent in the short-term drought, but when we start talking long-term drought, and not just in terms of meteorological, but especially agriculturally and hydrologically, we're still looking at significant long-term drought. The 48-month and 60 months too are in the top 15 driest on record. So long-term, we're still hurting. So far this month, most areas are below normal precipitation. A few areas are near, a little bit above normal here in central into northeast New Mexico and down in the far southern reaches of the state. But overall, not too great so far. The drought status, fresh off the press, came out today. Still looking at 77% of the state in some form of drought between D1 and D4, and almost 100% still in abnormally dry to exceptional drought. Well, we have no exceptional drought, very little extreme drought. So, at least that we haven't had that like we did earlier in the year. And I'll show a comparison to that here shortly. Just going back 1 month, very little change, a little bit of improvement over the north. Sandoval County has improved some, a little bit of improvement up here in Union and northern Clay County. Otherwise, pretty much no change across the state. The 3 months change, you can see a little bit of a change here, a little bit of improvement in general, across the north and central areas, but actually some deterioration down here across the borderland area over the last 3 months. Again, 75% or more of the state in moderate to extreme drought, and virtually the entire state is abnormally dry to extreme. So here's the comparison between what we were at the end of June before the monsoon began, and then just for comparison's sake, I put it to the end of November for a virtually exact 5-month period. You can see how much improvement we've had in the short-term drought over the last 6 months. Very impressive changes here in the D3 and the D4. So let's see what the Climate Prediction Center and others are looking at down the road here. First of all, I did not see today the new updated plume-based probabilistic forecasts for mid-December. I don't know if they're out now, but as of an hour ago, I did not see them. So you saw these last month, where the models are suggesting just as likely, if not a little bit greater chance of El Nino developing this summer, along with continued neutral conditions that we're in right now. The one thing that did change, if you recall last month, the consensus probabilistic INSO forecast, that's the group of people there at CPC who, the long-range forecasters, they're putting out their own forecast, and last month they had El Nino not that great, but now they seem to have come in more in line, with the model thinking, and they're also suggesting perhaps just as likelihood of El Nino developing as remaining in neutral conditions as we go into the summer. The January precipitation outlook, no strong signals there, equal chances of above normal, normal, and below normal. So no good signal there. But they are saying temperatures again, very good likelihood they'll tend toward warmer than normal conditions across the entire state. And unfortunately, the January through March outlook that gets us through the rest of the winter, they are suggesting a trend or likelihood that below normal precipitation will be favored, especially across the western half, 2/3 of the state. And again, likelihood is that we'll have above normal temperatures, best bet for the January through March time period. So that, of course, is not good news. And the seasonal outlook, which did come out today, persistent drought where it exists now, and in places where it's just abnormally dry, they're suggesting that some form of drought will develop over the course of the winter. And that's all I have. I want to do make a plug here. Our weather highlights will be coming out, January 1st. This is what the main page will look like. Can't get to it yet, but you will by the 1st. Just some highlights here through November. We're 0.3 of a degree above normal statewide, and precipitation almost an inch above normal. First 6 months of the year were the 7th driest on record, and of course, we had the drought that's kept worsening and worsening through the month of June. And September ended up our second wettest, of course, on record since 1895, with the incredible 1941 September being the wettest on record. Okay, now I'm done.
All right, any questions for Chuck? Nope. I just did a quick search over at the IRI, and I look, and if you dig in, there's a link for the early December consensus forecast. The bar chart, but it looks the same as the mid-November.
The one I had up there was actually the early December.
Oh, was it? Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I still am fairly cautious in terms of what I've been telling people, even though there's a convergence of the probabilities between the neutral and El Nino, but it's more of what I've been saying is keeping a watch out for that. But the main thing is that the La Nina signal was very small throughout the entire forecast, which was probably more of a significant thing than whether it's going to be a neutral or El Nino for 2014. What are you guys saying in terms of what you're telling the public at Weather Service?
Most likely to remain in neutral conditions through the spring. And just mention the fact that it's possible that, well, the models and the forecasters are hinting at a little better chance of an El Nino event developing next summer. But at this point, this early, we can't say with any certainty whatsoever. It's going to take probably till late spring or summer before we get a better handle on things.
Right.
With this system coming in this weekend, is there a good chance of moisture in this one?
Weather pattern coming this weekend.
Oh, yeah, the storm Friday into Saturday will actually impact the southern half of the state the most, south of I-40. We'll fortunately get some snow in Gila and Capitan and Sacramento and Guadalupe Mountains. Could see up to a foot on some of the high peaks, but in general more like a half a foot. And initially it's going to be too warm at lower elevations to get snow, but we do see some rain, especially for the southeast and east central plains, that may turn over to snow Friday night or early Saturday. And there'll be some decent amounts there, but The heaviest precipitation looks like, unfortunately, West Texas and over into the Texas Panhandle areas probably end up getting the most, as well as farther east across Texas.
And there's something showing again for next week, is that right, coming in?
Well, there's looks like a weak system for Christmas Day coming down from the northwest. Looks like the biggest thing will be just continued chilly, fresh batch of chilly air, and any precipitation appears to be light and mainly impacting the northern mountains in the northeast. Yesterday, one of the models was suggesting a more significant system for Christmas Day. It's backed off, and so I don't think there's any model right now suggesting anything major, not only next week, but right through the first of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions about outlooks, conditions, meteorologically? Okay. I think I heard Raymond on the call. Is that right? Are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here, Wayne. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Ray, on the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation report.
Ready? Okay, on the Rio Grande site, I'll start with Petoro. We have a 9,270 acre feet. Heron, 91,149. And Novato is all the way down to 7,238. Just a little puddle over there. Abiquiu, 151,220. Cochiti, 47,114. And Elephant Butte is 263,046. Caballo, 39,435. On the Pecos, Santa Rosa is 98,878. Sumner, 36,437. Brantley, 30,923. Avalon, 25,29. Now, we're just doing some winter flows right now in both basins. We're just transferring some water from Novato to Abiquiu, and shortly, around the holidays, around Christmas time, New Year's, we'll be going down to about 25 CFS out of Novato. That'll be our base flow for the Chalma for a while. And then come the first of the year, we'll see what we store, if we can get anything for the Paramount, whatnot. In Santa Rosa, it looks like those storms have really wet the channel really nice. We have just a small release of 15 CFS coming out of Sumner, and we're keeping the whole stretch wet, which we have not been able to do in that low flow for quite a while. It was usually taking us about 40 to 45, 48 CFS to try to keep that channel wet, and now we're doing it at 15, because you see Acme is at 48, and that's the lower reach of the upper critical habitat area. And so yeah, that channel got wet with that big storm system, and we're able to keep it wet with a smaller release, which is helping. And like I said, we'll go into next year with nice full reservoirs on that basin. So, boy, I tell you, on the Rio Grande, it's going to be tough. That's all I have.
Thanks, Raymond. Anybody have any questions? All right, no questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again. Okay, I didn't know if Wayne was on the call. Are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Oh, great. All right. Welcome, Wayne. And I think
Good morning.
I think we've got. I received your reports. There was 2 emails. One with the standard NRCS, and then there was one with the percents. See if Chuck can bring that up.
I didn't get it.
You didn't get it?
No.
Well, I was on my phone this morning. I was having some trouble getting them to send, so I can run through it a little bit, and then I'll resend it when I get back in the office.
Okay.
That's okay. The standard NRCS update report that I usually send out, it looks like most basins in the state, at least in the northern half, are somewhere between 90 and 110 or so percent of normal snowpack. And precipitation for the water year so far is kind of right in that same range, 80 to 100%. As you move down into the southern basins, the Gila, San Francisco, Mimbres, they're more in the 40 to 70, 80% snowpack range, percent of normal snowpack, and more in the 40 to 60% of precip for the water year as well. The Zuni Blue Water is kind of in that same range too. It's the percent of normal snowpack has really dropped off in the last few weeks. We started December looking pretty good. We were above average almost statewide, but this drier pattern that's kind of kicked in, even though we're still getting some little storm bursts through, has not really dropped much snow. So the percents of normal have dropped off quite a bit. We just really haven't picked up much new, even at the high elevation sites. So it's not as good as it was looking a few weeks ago, and my concern, I guess, after the last few years, we've started off snow season's pretty decent, and then it's tended to drop off starting in December, January. So I'm hoping we're not seeing that same pattern develop this year. The other report that I sent out was just the weekly snowpack and drought monitor update that comes out weekly. Excuse me. The one for today actually has not been released yet, so I had sent out last week's, and it showed basically west-wide temperatures were somewhat to significantly below average, except for like southern New Mexico. So that was the only place, southern New Mexico, southern Arizona were kind of the only areas that were near normal temperature-wise. As far as precipitation or snowpack, the month-to-date precipitation for most basins in New Mexico as of last Thursday was generally less than half a normal. One kind of exception was the Sangre de Cristos. They got hit pretty good by that storm early in the month, so they were at or slightly above normal precip. And then I think Chuck covered most of the other information in that report with his update on the drought monitor or the drought conditions. So that's kind of what I had today, unless there's questions.
No questions? Okay. Chuck, I just sent you the links. We just went through the report anyway. But any other questions about snowpack? Or maybe not.
I will mention we are. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I was going to mention we are a little better set up this year as far as precip going into the snow season. So, with the September storms, and then it was, stayed somewhat moist through the fall. We shouldn't see near as much infiltration loss when the snowpack that's already starting to build starts coming off in the spring as we did last year. Last year we went into the fall dry and then had kind of a really poor snowpack year, and then didn't get much runoff because of the infiltration, and we got sublimation and all the other normal fun losses. So we are at least set up a little bit better as far as soil moisture this year going into the snow season, and that helps the ground to freeze, and snowpack usually builds a little better on on top of that, and then the runoff usually comes out a little better too. So hopefully we see a better runoff season, but that's all going to depend on what happens in the next few months.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dave. The soil moisture information I've been looking at, it, the first couple of inches down in the ground, they're still holding the water, so that's good. You get down 10 to 20 inches, it's dry, but you know we do have that moisture there in the first couple of inches, and at this point it should pretty much stay there, you would think, through the winter.
Very good. Well, thank you, Wayne. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, I think we'll move on to the USGS report with Anne Marie.
Okay. This is a report representing percent of average stream flow for 21 gauges in New Mexico, representing relatively unmanaged conditions, and compares percent of stream flow to the cumulative average stream flow for the water year, so October, November, for the period of record for each individual gauge. The normal conditions are represented as about 90 to 110% of average. Greater than that is above average, and below 90% is considered below the historical average. 11 of 20 stations that were analyzed are above average or average for this point of the water year. Rio, Lucero, near Arroyo Seco was not reporting at this time. Percentages range from about 24 to 142%. Median, 95% of average for the 20 basins that we have data for. On a basin-by-basin analysis, San Juan River Basin is represented by the Animas River, and that was at 123% of average. The upper Rio Grande tributaries, 53 to 142% of average. Jemez River at 78%. The upper Rio Grande main stem, represented by the Rio Grande at Taos Junction Bridge at 53% of average. In the Canadian River Basin, the upper tributaries in Colfax County, 93 to 100% of average. Lower down tributaries in Mora County, 24 to 25% of average, with the main stem at about 44%. In the upper Pecos, San Miguel County, Pecos River at Pecos is at 116% of average, and Gallinas River at Montezuma is at 105% of average. Lower Pecos in Otero and Eddy counties, stream flow conditions range from 40 to 64% of average. And finally, the Gila Basin in Grant County, Mogollon Creek is at 30% of average, and the Gila River at Red Rock is at 95% of average. And that's all I have for this month.
Okay, thanks, Anne Marie. And if you can get you to email the, do you have a table to email out?
Yeah, I had sent that in. I apparently didn't get it. I'll send it directly to you.
Okay, much appreciated. Okay, I think we can move on to the Office of the State Engineers report. I think Molly, are you in the office there?
I'm here, yeah. So this is the report that we've been presenting for the last few months, several months. And hopefully the reservoir numbers are pretty close to what Raymond reported. I got most of these numbers from the Corps of Engineers website yesterday, except per ute, and then I'm using NRCS data for the last year storage and the average storage numbers. And it's the same legend that we've been using all along that shows the current level, the last year's level, and then the average storage level. So here's Navajo, pretty close to what it was last year, but below average. And Ute is a little bit above where it was last year and a little below the average. Santa Rosa looks, nice, right?
Wish that was Elephant Butte, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Elephant Butte doesn't quite look like that.
No.
So yeah, pretty low last year, you can see, but it looks nice now. Sumner looks pretty good too. I mean, it's nice. Like everybody keeps saying, the Pecos really benefited from the September storm. So Heron is about half of what it was last year, and well below the average storage level. And Alvado is, what was the word, a small puddle or something like that? Wasn't that what the term was? And it's way below average there, and lots lower than last year. And there's Abiquiu, pretty close. All those three numbers are fairly close. The current storage last year and then the average. So Elephant Butte, your picture's just not as rosy down there, but better than last year. We can say that, right? And Caballo. So that's everything that I had for today.
Okay, thanks, Molly. Any comments from the Drought Task Force meeting last week?
Yeah, I thought maybe you were going to do that.
Oh, okay. I can do that too. Well, we had a task force meeting on the 12th in Socorro, and Chuck and I gave the updates similar to what we just gave today. A few things. I guess there was some discussion on some of the ongoing impacts. For instance, the Brackish Water Group giving a status on their committee, and they came up with a plan. There was some discussion about Clifford gave a discussion on the Capital Outlay Committee, talking about water infrastructure, and he gave out a handout on different funding sources, kind of a catalog of water programs to date, kind of what is out there, and talking about some of the existing earmarks that this can be compared to, and I wrote down some notes of like 170 million of water trust funds out there. And then there was discussion of some this Oregon water development program through the Western Water Council Media Institute. There was a report on the Innovation and Economic Development Group. They haven't met yet. And that was with Becerra. He gave a report on special projects. He's the special projects program manager for the governor, and he mentioned some funds for research for innovation, in scheduling the committee meeting. Let's see what else. There was a short, brief discussion from the Watershed Health and Management Committee subcommittee. They're meeting quarterly. I guess if I wrote this down right there, just summary of the last 60-day session. I think there was like 60 water bills introduced. Only 2 of them came out of the session. There were 4 interim committee meetings for the 30-day session coming up. There are some water bills coming in early in the year. Let's see what else. The chairman, Verhines, mentioned he briefed us on the New Mexico Texas litigation. And Molly, you may know more about that. I wrote down it wasn't clear on what is next. Do you have any more information on that, Molly?
Well, I think that State Engineer Verhines was talking about the recent, I guess it's an opinion from the Solicitor General on whether the Supreme Court would hear the case, and I think that people are still figuring out what their opinion is, what it means for us, and that's about all I know.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't real clear what was going on. Wendy Blackwell, I don't know if she's on the call, and she gave a brief on the state natural hazards plan, which was completed and approved, and with that as approved, there are certain funding mechanisms that kind of puts into place through FEMA, and I think I wrote down $15 million for funds for risk minimization that are available that agencies can apply for. And I also mentioned there's an application process, and that quasi-governmental agencies can also apply. Anything else, Molly, that I didn't get on? Didn't mention?
I think that pretty well covers it, at least based on what I...
Yeah, and then the next Drought Task Force meeting, I think, is going to be in Roswell in early April of next year. So we'll stay tuned on that one. And that's kind of more tied to what's going to what is transpired in terms of the snowpack by April, because we'll see what's going to happen. Okay, any questions? Okay, well I do, since I am talking, there's one more thing that I want to let the group know. I signed a memorandum of agreement with NOAA for the U.S. Regional Climate Reference Network, and apparently there's been some discussion of funding on that one, and the latest, I got a call a couple weeks ago from the program manager for that network, and apparently they lost the funding for good. There was some discussion earlier in the year that it may get funded through some other shuffling around of money in Washington, but apparently that didn't go through. So bottom line is that this is a new network that was set out around 2011, 2011, some of the state, and there's 21 monitoring stations in New Mexico. Mainly, most of them are on federal lands, 5 on BLM, 7 on Forest Service, 5 on Park Service, 3 on municipal lands, and 1 on state lands. The program manager contacted me, and actually this network extends in the Four Corner states and Alabama. Don't ask me why Alabama, but so they meaning NOAA, the group there that manages the regional climate reference, they have several options that they will. The one option is for them to just dig it out, scrap it, put it in a pile somewhere in Oak Ridge, get rid of all the stations, dissolve all the MOUs between the FLMs. That's one option. they contacted the states for if there is any interest in maintaining those, keeping those going, and I did not indicate an answer to that question because that's a huge commitment for 21 states. That covers pretty much every corner of the state. So what I was thinking, and this is just a thought, is kind of starting some discussions with each of the landowners where the stations are situated. So there's 5 in BLM lands, 7 in Forest Service, 5 on Park Service, is to see if there's any interest at all for partnering with the state on keeping those running. So what I want to do is I just wanted to introduce that, and I will put together a memo maybe for some conference calls and for those entities to see if there's it's even a possibility. Otherwise, and they kind of want a decision made at least by the spring, and they're going to revisit. They're going to call me back in sometime in late January to see what options are around. The other states, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, are also doing some querying like that and seeing if they can keep these going, because it's basically the purpose of the network is to have a climate only. The purpose of it is to measure in the climate trends. They're in fairly good locations without a lot of interference from nearby things. So these are what will hopefully the intention was to have these as legacy that will go past the National Weather Service Cooperative Network, which those are slowly going away, some of them. Excuse me. So I just wanted to bring that up, let folks know if you get a memo, you'll know what it is. So thanks. All right. I don't know if Les or Ryan is on the call, and I didn't see anything from him, either of them, on the Department of Agriculture report. Did you get anything, Chuck?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well, I'll contact him later, but usually they're not that much going on in the winter. And I didn't hear if Joy Lynn or Emelita was on the call either. Are either of them on the call? No, I didn't think so. Okay. All right. Is any other questions or any other comments that need to be brought out? Okay, I'm slowly losing my voice, yelling at my students too much, I guess. Okay, so in the last year, we didn't meet in January. And what do you guys think? I can go either way. I think traditionally when other folks and Ed was here, we didn't meet on January's, and we continued on in February. What do you guys all think about that?
Sounds good to me.
That works for me.
That work for you?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So
Sounds good.
okay, so taking a month off and seeing where the snowpack ends up in by February is our what's on the table. So do we want to schedule something since we're together in February? The CPC outlooks are out on the 3rd.
20th.
Yeah, the 20th. Third Thursdays of the month, which is the 20th. Do we want to schedule for that day? Or I don't know. Do you have a calendar out, Chuck? Is the Weather Service available?
I do. That Thursday or Friday is okay, or the following Monday is good. Doesn't matter to me. that's about as late as the products come out, and it's a short month, so
Yeah.
maybe that Thursday or Friday. I guess Thursday would be fine.
Yeah. How about February 20th at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Thursday.
Sorry, what was that date again?
So that's February 20th, 20. That's a Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time.
Wait.
And if there's any interim, anything noteworthy, feel free to email the group. Without having to convene a conference call. So we're good, I think.
Okay, well, thanks, David.
All right, thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye now.